Having gone through the basic classification of the matters, so during classification of matter we have used a particular term known as atom. Look at this, we have classified substance into pure and impure. So during this pure element classification we have defined atoms, molecules and compounds. So during this classification we have used a particular term, that is atom. Only one atom, more than one kind of atom. So now we are all aware of this term atom. So now it's time for us to discuss some basic in-depth or some more aspects of this particular term known as atom. So whenever one speaks about this atom, the first thing that comes into our mind is Dalton's atomic theory. So this doesn't mean that the atom was defined by, atom was discovered by Dalton. Even before this Dalton, the concept of atom was there. The only difference is, before this atom, there is no precise concept of atom. Though there was a concept of atom, but it was scattered. Whereas Dalton was the very first scientist who gave a precise knowledge about this atom. So we are going to discuss Dalton's atomic theory. What is actually Dalton's atomic theory? How far these statements given by Dalton's atomic theory are correct in recent times. So now coming to the postulates, let's discuss the postulates and their relevance. So the first postulate given by John Dalton is atoms are discrete. Means atoms are the smallest indivisible part which takes part in chemical reaction. So let me just write down. Atoms are discrete. These are smallest, matlab chemical is smallest and indivisible. Smallest and indivisible which takes part in chemical reaction. So now look at this. Till now we are learning that obviously atoms are indivisible. Atoms are the smallest unit which takes part in chemical reaction. So now look at this. How far this postulate, the statement given by John Dalton about this atom is correct. Now look at this. With the progress of science, with the advance of technology, we have discovered subatomic particles. We have an atom. Inside this atom, we have some other particles known as subatomic particles. So the discovery of these subatomic particles means there are some more species which is much smaller than that of atom. So that means the concept of atom being the smallest, this is no longer valid. Whereas again this atoms being indivisible, because now if atom can be further divided into other things, then how can we discover this subatomic particles like electron, proton and neutron? These are known as fundamental. Apart from this, we have a number of subatomic particles also. Now we are not going in detail. So now the discovery of the fundamental particles makes this statement to be incorrect. That means atoms cannot be the smallest because we have subatomic particles. Atoms are divisible, means this can be further divided into subatomic particles. So this statement comes out to be incorrect. So why? This is because of the discovery of subatomic particles. Discovery of subatomic particles. So these subatomic particles like electron, protons, neutrons, etc. So this is the first postulate given by John Dalton, which comes out to be incorrect. The second statement given by John Dalton about these atoms is the atoms of same element are identical in all respect. In all respect means their properties, including the mass. Atoms of same element are identical in all respects, especially their mass. Now look at this, we have atoms of same element. So we have an element, so atoms should be obviously the atoms of same element only. If the atoms are same, obviously then the properties should be identical, shape, size should be, and all the properties should be identical. So this sentence seems to be correct. But now look at this. After this, we have discovered something like isotopes. So isotopes are the species having atomic number same but mass number different. If atomic number is same, we have same atoms. So now we have same atoms because of same atomic number, but their mass numbers are different. But this second statement says especially their mass should also be identical. But due to the discovery of isotopes, again the second statement given by John Dalton about the concept of atom comes out to be wrong or incorrect. So this statement again comes out to be wrong. This is due to discovery of isotopes. Due to discovery of isotopes. So now look at this example I am giving you. We have this hydrogen. Hydrogen exists in three different isotopic forms. Hydrogen, atomic number 1, mass number 1. Deuterium, atomic number 1, mass number 2. Tritium, atomic number 1, mass number 3. Now if you look at this, these are atoms of hydrogen only, having same atomic number, that is 1, 1, 1. So obviously we have atoms of same element. Now apart from this, now look at this. This first one is having mass number 1, second is having mass number 2, third is having mass number 3. So we have different masses. So this second, especially their masses should also be identical, comes out to be incorrect. This is due to the discovery of isotopes. Then the next postulate given by John Dalton regarding this atom is, if atoms of same elements are identical, then atoms of different elements should have different properties. Atoms of different elements have different properties, and again this is especially their mass should be different. So now look at this. If we have different atoms, obviously their properties should be, because we cannot have a hydrogen and nitrogen atom to be identical. If hydrogen and nitrogen atoms are identical, then how can we classify some of them into hydrogen, some of them into nitrogen? So now look at this. If we have a different atoms, their properties should be different in all respects, especially their masses should also be different. Now this seems to be again correct. But on closer examination, the discovery of a specific substance called isobars. Now we have discovered a class of substance known as isobars. So isobars are atoms or elements having different atomic number but same mass number. If the atomic numbers are different, so obviously we have a different atom, but their masses are same. So again this comes out to be incorrect statement. This is due to discovery of isobars. So isobars are same mass number but different atomic number. Let's take this case. We have carbon. Carbon exists in mass number 12, atomic number 6, mass number 13, atomic number 6. We have mass number 14, atomic number 6. These are three isotopes of carbon. On the other side, look at this. We have this nitrogen, atomic number 7. This nitrogen exists in atomic number 7, mass number 14. Nitrogen, atomic number 7, mass number 15. If you look at this elements present in periodic table, most of the elements has got this isotopic or isobaric form. Now look at this. We have a specific form of carbon. In this, look at this. We have atomic number is 6. atomic number is 7. So we have different atomic numbers, so their atoms are different. Though the atoms are different, but if you look at this, we have this specific form where mass number is 14. This is again having 14 mass number. So these two, carbon 14 and nitrogen 14, these are known as isobars. So this is what we call as isobar. So again, now look at this, we have same mass number but we have different atoms. So again, discovery of this isobar makes the third postulate given by John Dalton, which was sounds to be correct, comes out to be incorrect statement. Then the number 4 postulate given by John Dalton regarding this atom. This says atoms cannot be created nor they can be destroyed. In a chemical reaction, there is simply the rearrangement of atoms. So that is known as conservation of atoms. Atoms can neither be created nor destroyed. There is just rearrangement of atoms in a chemical reaction. That is conservation of atoms. That is, they can neither be created nor destroyed, simply rearrangement. So now look at this, we have a fourth postulate which says in a chemical reactions these atoms can neither be created nor destroyed. That is simply rearrangement of atoms from one form to another form. Means before the chemical reaction and after the chemical reaction, the number of atoms must be same in both sides, reactant side as well as the product side. That is what we mean by the term conservation of atoms, atomic conservation. Now this again seems to be correct, but on closer examination we have a special category of reaction known as nuclear reaction. Okay, that is what we call as fusion as well as fission. Fission is to break, fusion is to join. So fission is what is taking place in atom bomb. Fusion, that is what is taking place in sun or hydrogen bomb. So now during this fission or fusion, there is loss of mass. So this, since there is a loss of mass, means there is some loss of atoms. So if these atoms cannot be destroyed or atoms cannot be lost, then why there should be loss in mass? So during this nuclear fusion reaction, mass is lost and the loss in mass appears as energy. So this is the reason why during this nuclear reaction, fission or fusion, the enormous amount of energy is released, and that energy is responsible for the destructive nature of this nuclear bomb. So now look at this, again this statement comes out to be incorrect. In normal chemical reaction this statement is correct, but in nuclear reaction this statement is wrong. Nuclear reaction, loss of mass is appeared as energy. So there is some loss of mass, and this loss of mass is means mass is converted into energy according to Einstein's formula. E is equals to mc square. So mass and energy are related. So this is number 4. Again this comes out to be incorrect statement. Then the number 5 postulate given by John Dalton about this atom. So now look at this, whenever this elements combines to form compound, they always combined in a fixed whole number ratio. Atoms combine to form compounds in a simple whole number ratio. Look at this, we have carbon dioxide CO2 2:1. Yeah, 1:2. We have water H2O 2:1. So in all these normal compounds, we have simple atomic number ratio is followed. Combining atomic ratio of the atoms are always simple ratio. Again, now look at this. We have a special class of compounds which are known as non-stoichiometric compound, in which the simple whole number ratio is not followed. So those compounds, we have some fractional ratio. So discovery of that non-stoichiometric compound again proves that the fifth statement given by John Dalton, that is, comes out to be again incorrect. Non-stoichiometric compounds means those compounds in which simple ratio is not followed. Example, look at this. I'll give you example. We have, look at this, nickel. So for every 1 part of oxygen, we have 0.98 parts of nickel. We can have, look at this. So for iron oxide, for every 1 part of oxygen, we have 0.93. So this does not follow simple whole number ratio. We have a number of this type of non-stoichiometric compound. These non-stoichiometric compounds are generally formed by transition elements. So the elements, transition elements formed in non-stoichiometric compound. This non-stoichiometric compound does not follow simple whole number ratio. So these are the basic postulates given by John Dalton. Nevertheless, we are saying all the postulates given by John Dalton comes out to be incorrect statement in modern times. But still, we follow this John Dalton's atomic theory to define the concept of atom, because this was the very first time given a concise, a precise concept of atom. Only after studying this precise concept of atom, we go for further experiment, and by this further exploration we come to the conclusion that there is some discrepancies. So this is all about Dalton's atomic theory and its correctness. So this is the concept of atom. Now, having learned this concept of atom, we'll go further in depth of this atom. We'll define the mass of atom, that is atomic mass. Coming to this atomic mass, now we have seen that atoms are not visible to naked eyes, and now we are going to find the mass of this very small particles known as atom. So first of all, this let me give you some atomic mass. Now the mass that we report in chemistry textbooks or chemistry literature books, these mass are measured with respect to a particular scale which is known as carbon scale. So even if this is not mentioned, then the atomic mass scale is always carbon scale. Now in this carbon scale, we take this the most stable isotope of carbon, that is carbon 12. So this carbon 12 is taken as standard reference for measuring this mass, because that particular smallest thing which cannot be observed with naked eye, we cannot put in a balance and we can take this mass. So we have to measure this with respect to some standard reference, and that reference is known as carbon 12. Carbon 12 is the most stable isotope of carbon, and this scale is known as carbon scale. Now this atomic mass can be of different types. First one is a relative atomic mass, then we have absolute atomic mass, then we have average atomic mass, then we have gram atomic mass. These are the 4 types of mass that we often comes in literature while discussing atomic mass. Now, without wasting time, let's take up one by one. So first we'll take up this relative atomic mass. A relative atomic mass, the first one. Now, first of all, look at this. This relative atomic mass is not an actual mass, but this is a pure number without any unit, not an actual mass. This is a pure number, means no unit. It doesn't have any unit. This is a pure number. Now why this is relative? Because this is measured with reference to some standard reference that is known as carbon 12. So this mass is measured with reference to carbon 12. So at relative atomic mass is defined as mass of one atom of an element divided by 1/12 times mass of one atom of carbon 12. So this is what we call as a relative atomic mass. Now look at this. In this definition of relative atomic mass, we have the mass of one atom of the element divided by 1/12 times mass of one atom of carbon 12. So numerator is also mass, denominator is also mass. So we have units will cancel out. So this is simply a pure number which does not have any dimension. But still this is called as mass because this is mass of atom measured with reference to mass of carbon 12. Now in chemistry, this term mass of one atom of carbon 12 divided by 12, this is defined as one unified mass. So now look at this, 1/12 into mass of one atom of carbon 12. This is defined as 1 U, unified mass. Sometimes this in all literature will find this as 1 AMU, atomic mass unit. But in modern literature we will find this U. So 1 U or 1 atomic mass unit is nothing but mass of one atom of carbon 12 divided by 12. So this mass of one atom of carbon 12 divided by 12, this comes out to be 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24 gram or 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 27 kilogram. This is the gram equivalent of one unified mass. So now look at this, coming to this definition. So we have to look at this, relative atomic mass is equal to mass of one atom divided by 1/12 mass of one atom of carbon, which is defined as 1 U. So we can define this is into 1 U. Therefore, mass of one atom is equal to relative atomic mass into one unified mass. So this is what we call as mass of single atom, that is relative atomic mass. So whenever we say कि mass of carbon, so carbon we say this is 12 U. Hydrogen we say this is 1.008 U. Iron we say this is 56 U. So these are all what we call as relative atomic mass. The second mass, so now what if suppose someone asks you what is relative atomic mass, what is atomic mass, then don't say this is mass of single atom. So give this proper definition. So definition is, this is defined as mass of one atom of an element divided by 1/12 times mass of one atom of the carbon 12 isotope. The second mass is absolute mass. Second is absolute mass. So absolute mass is defined as exact mass of one atom expressed in gram unit. So this is known as exact mass, which is nothing but the absolute mass. So now look at this, this absolute mass is nothing but relative atomic mass into one unified mass. So one unified unit is equals to 1.66 into 10 power minus 24. So relative atomic mass multiplied by 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24 gram. This is the exact mass of one atom. expressed in terms of gram. So now look at this. If I say exact mass of hydrogen atom, so this equals to 1.001, that is relative atomic mass, multiplied by gram equivalent of unified mass, that is 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24. This is the exact mass of a single atom of hydrogen. So that exact mass is what we call as absolute mass. Then we have look at this average mass. Now the concept of average mass is used for isotopes. Now as we have periodic table, most of the elements have isotopic forms. So these isotopic forms has got different mass and their percentage availability is different. Some of them are present in very large quantity, some of them are present in very small quantity. Now we cannot exclude one with respect to another. So we have to take into account the contribution of each and every isotope. So that contribution of each and every isotope is known as average mass. So basically this average mass is for isotopes. Now this average mass is defined as the summation of isotopic mass into percentage abundance divided by 100. So we have to consider the isotopic mass and the percentage abundance of each and every isotope divided by 100. Percentage divided by 100 is also known as fractional abundance. Isotopic mass into fractional abundance. Abundance means availability in nature. So this is average mass. So let's take this example. Suppose we have an atom X. This has got suppose two isotopic forms. This is suppose mass is Q P. This mass is Q. This is isotopic mass. Percentage of this is suppose A. Percentage of this is B. Such that A plus B is equals to 100. Then the average mass is equals to, we have to consider this isotope mass is P into A plus isotope mass is Q, abundance is B divided by 100. This is the meaning of summation of isotopic mass into percentage abundance divided by 100. So if I say the mass of hydrogen is 1.008 U, that means this is the average of protium, deuterium and tritium. So similarly take this case, I will give you a simple example. Let's see how to solve the problem. Now carbon has got two isotopes. Let's take it to two isotopic forms, carbon 12 and carbon 13. Its percentage is suppose X, its percentage is Y. Now we have to find the percentage of 12 and 3. The average mass of this carbon comes out to be 12.01. Then we have to find the percentage abundance of 12 and 13. Now we have this definition of average mass. So average mass, which is equals to 12.01, is equals to 12x, that is isotopic mass percentage, plus 13y. Now since x and y being the percentage, I have given you summation of this percentage is always equals to 100. So we can express this y in terms of x. So this is 12x plus 1300 minus x. So this comes out to be 12x plus 1300 minus 13x. So we say this is 1300 minus x, which is equals to 12.01 divided by 100. So therefore this comes out to be the 1201 equals to 1300 minus x, or simply say x is equals to 99. So the percentage of 12 is 99. Therefore y is equals to 1. So this is how we define the percentage composition, provided we have average mass. Or if the percentage is given, then we also define mass. Or if suppose percentage and average mass is given, then also we can define the isotopic mass. So this is the concept of average mass that we use for defining atomic mass. And all these mass that we are defining in literature book, that is nothing but the average mass. Then we have with one more mass, and that mass is known as gram atomic mass. So gram atomic mass, now look at this, we are defining a particular term known as gram atom, 1 gram atom. So in chemistry, 1 gram atom means 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 atom. These atoms is known as gram atom. So this 6.02 into 10 power, this is known as Avogadro number. So the mass of 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 atoms expressed in gram unit, that is known as gram atomic mass. So this is mass of 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 atoms expressed in gram. That mass is known as gram. Whereas the relative atomic mass is the mass of single atom, whereas this is the mass of 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 atoms. Now this gram atomic mass, so look at this, gram atomic mass is mass of 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 atoms. Mass of single atom is relative absolute mass. So absolute mass into mass of single atom multiplied by number of atoms in terms of gram. Now just look at this. This absolute mass is equals to relative atomic mass into 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24 into 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 gram. Now when you multiply this, this comes out to be approximately 1. So look at it, this is equals to, so the numerical value of gram atomic mass and the relative atomic mass are same, but there is a difference in unit. So gram atomic mass means mass of 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 atoms. So therefore let's say carbon, its relative atomic mass is 12U, absolute mass is 12 into 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24 gram. Gram atomic mass, that is 12 gram. So 12 into 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24 into 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 gram. So this comes out to be 12 gram. So look at this. The numerical value of gram atomic mass and relative atomic mass both are having same numerical value, but there is a difference. But this is the reconversion factor, that is the relation between gram, absolute mass, relative mass, absolute mass, and everything. So these are the 4 types of mass that is used in chemistry literature book. Now these are the mass of atoms. So if we have mass of atom, then we can define the mass of molecule also, that is the molecular mass. So once we define this atomic mass, is very easy to define molecular mass. So now coming to the molecular mass, this molecular mass, now this we have a relative molecular mass, we have absolute molecular mass, then we have gram molecular mass. There is no average molecular mass because molecule cannot have average mass, because only we can have isotopes of element. Molecule does not have isotopic form. So relative molecular mass, that is mass of one molecule divided by 1/12 times mass of carbon 12 isotope. So this equals to mass of one molecule divided by one unified mass. So therefore mass of one molecule is equals to relative molecular mass into 1 U. So now look at this is mass of one molecule. If I say look at this, that is relative molecular mass. Then we have absolute molecular mass. Absolute molecular mass is relative molecular mass multiplied by gram equivalent of unified mass, that is 1.66 into 10 power minus 24 grams. So this is the exact mass of one molecule. Then we have gram molecular mass. So gram molecular mass, again look at this gram molecule. So gram atom is 6.02 into 10 power 23 atom. So gram molecule means 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 molecule. So this is equals to absolute molecular mass into 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 molecules. That is in terms of gram. So this comes out to be RMM into 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24 into 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 gram. So this comes out to be 1. So this is RMM in terms of gram. So gram molecule, gram atom represents how many species? 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 species. This may be atom, this may be molecule. Now calculation of molecular mass, this is from definition point of view. Now if suppose we have this water, the molecular mass is given. Molecular mass, relative molecular mass, that is 2 times atomic mass of hydrogen, means simply molecular mass is summation of the atomic mass. So 2 times atomic mass, so we said this is 1 plus 1 times 16. So this comes out to be 18U. This is the relative atomic mass. Then absolute molecular mass is equals to 18 into 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24 gram. That gram molecular mass is equals to 18 into 1.66 into 10 to the power minus 24 into 6.02 into 10 to the power 23 grams. So this comes out to be 18 grams. So if the molecular formula is given to you, we can easily calculate molecular mass provided atomic mass are given to you. Take this sulfuric acid. So mass is 2 times atomic mass of hydrogen is 1 plus sulfur is 1. So 1 times atomic mass of sulfur is 32 plus 4 times atomic mass of oxygen, this is 16. So this comes out to be 98. So this is atomic mass. So similarly to this H3PO4 phosphoric acid, we have 3 times mass of oxygen plus 1 times mass of sulfur or phosphorus plus 4 times mass of oxygen. So this comes out to be 98. So molecular mass is simply the summation of atomic mass. So this is all about the mass, that is atomic mass, or the molecular mass that is used for defining atomic mass. So we have to be very clear the relation or the significance of relative mass, absolute mass and gram molecular mass. Okay, I hope this is the molecular mass. Hopefully you enjoy the class and just go through it and let me know it.